Good morning, 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 good morning. It's time to rise and shine. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Making coffee, we're gonna all be fine. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What are we looking at this morning? We're looking at Voltaire and how did he impact Christian history. Voltaire, let's look at him while we got him up here. Voltaire, who was he? Voltaire. Let's see how this is. Put you in some bitters. We have Voltaire. Do you have me? Voltaire. Do we have me? Looking up Voltaire, 1694 to 1778. Let's 1694 to 1778. Here on gotquestions.org on our small interpretation with the historical setting of what we're looking for through here, we're gathering more information and saying, well, how did this particular entity in Christian history, 1694 to 1778, 1694, so I'm bringing us there. So 1511, let's start in the year 1511, when we have the 81 book Bible, and then 1602 when we have another flattering weird Bible, and then 1611 when we have a 65 or 75 book Bible, and then 1666 when we have the 66 book Bible. So that being our pinnacle of how Christians really kind of overlooked this era, we have a man teaching in this era that something written down that through the transition from the evolution of the Bible, Voltaire contributed to the evolution of the Bible. Did the Bible wiggle from its original point that Voltaire was looking at during the 1694 to 1778? So 1778. Did the Bible wiggle during this period of history? Am I going to make another cup of coffee before I get a lot further? I'm going to go start it. Yes. So I'm going to begin with that question and answer series here to this morning. Who was Voltaire? What period of time was it? And why does he have any authority to be placed into our doctrines, our covenants, and our influences into world history? How did Voltaire impact the 2020 theory of evolution, where we teach our children in the United States and not in Ethiopia, that the children grew up from the primates, the great apes. How did Voltaire contribute to, in the year 2020, the American children are taught that great apes grew up into them typing after the year 3500 BC, is what we're looking at here on how did Voltaire have influence into science and religion refusing discussion with each other? And the answer is, it was a long time ago. Voltaire was a French philosopher, so we have the position of the relationship. How did French get from Australian Aboriginal, or how did French from Israel? How did French get from the local Neolithics, which are all over that in France, in Germany, in the former USSR? Where did these made it through the medieval dark age? By leaving us Neolithic evidence that we had people around, and we walked out into their land when we left the mythical Garden of Eden that was real, but because we called the 6,000 years ago, we had a mythical religious Garden of Eden that François-Marie, so the Voltaire guy, I guess. Who is Voltaire, and how did he impact Christian history? We know of him. That's actually more of a that we know of Voltaire, and that's actually a bigger little, oh my goodness, we actually remembered him. Why I need Mr. Swaggart, for example, to say, I'm being remembered. Gotquestions.org. You're being you are being specifically picked up because you are special. And in some ways, I've jokingly said special ed, but it is literally, we don't know who Voltaire was, why we're talking about him on the internet in the year 2020, and while we're talking about our broken education system, not permitting Voltaire, yet having this name floating around, bouncing around. Who is he? He received classical education under Jesuits right there. You guys are fucked. Gotquestions.org. Having his name, having relationship to the Jesuits, not understanding who we are and what we did, and that we were more the little, us Jesuits who were walking around with these guys, influencing the Voltaire people, being the little weird mystic guys that we know something that these guys don't. It happened that he abandoned the law for the pursuit. Let's see, the Jesuits at La Saint Louis at Grand in Paris, but he abandoned the law for the pursuit of his literary activities. The typical, left the what will I influence those around me, but fiddling around with the evolving economy, the evolving society, not keeping good record of it because it's evolving. And so after the year 1778, when Voltaire passed away and he was not officially honored as like, here's my sentence impact into the year 2020, into how did this collection of books make it through the middle dark ages into the year 2020 with what we have, 66 books subtracted from 81 books. How did Voltaire contribute to that? And how is he being picked up as like, okay, he focused on one aspect. He abandoned the law for literary activities. Charles Darwin abandoned the church for digging in the dirt. Same literary activities. Voltaire made a number of positive contributions to theism, and Voltaire made every contribution equally at the same time to atheism, because he was equally, it was 1600s, kids. Kids, we have a world history right here. What did Voltaire not understand? He didn't know, oh, there's stars up there that we're going to get scientists out to kind of, and some of you guys are going to say they never made it out of the atmosphere. Rejecting atheism outright. Oh, good. So he rejected atheism while he accepted a medieval magic poofing. Rejecting atheism. I medievally magically poofed during the 1700s. Don't forget where we're talking about. I medievally magically poofed. So he rejected atheism outright, teaching, you're a we medievally magically poofed you. He believed that the creator could be inferred within the study of philosophy and natural theology, which is why Torah is written on our hearts. What is Torah? If I cannot look at the hills and properly and accurately accept the age of how long it took those hills to slowly form, Voltaire didn't have any conscious awareness. He had a medieval guess. Hey, we read this book 6,000 years. And he's looking around. Voltaire, I'm a philosopher. I'm going to pursue a literary activity because I'm going to abandon the law of what might have been family. I don't know anything about Voltaire. Why did he abandon law? What was his motivation to abstain from teaching that and then pursuing the literary activities? Well, that is the common where we're at now. Let me grab my coffee. So here us having a visible record in where did we get our idea from? Voltaire is a very important contributing member, but he's kind of a rogue phantom, kind of, because the rogue phantom is Voltaire is no different than Mr. Swaggart as an example of how his contributions. Oh, we got his name. In 1,000 years, Mr. Swaggart, what are you going to be? Are you going to be the guy we got the name of? And your literary activities of learning songs and getting large people to stand up in front of you and sing with you while you participate, and you teach them your medieval legends and you entertain them and continue to teach them the rejection of science. So Voltaire abandoned the law because it made sense. It was called something. Science was not science during the 1600s. Science was not science during the 1600s because science evolved into, we can prove there is no God. So science being able to prove that we have no God, rejecting atheism, thank you, one guy out of one guy, they're rejecting atheism. He believed that a creator, a sprinkling, a grand, supreme being, a creator. What did he create? Well, did he create the atheists? Did he create the trees? Did he create the birds? What did Voltaire understand about? He went over to the local natives. You've been here longer than 6,000 years. How'd you get here? Oh, God formed us from the animals. We hear that in the Native American traditions. Coyote, I'm Coyote. I want Coyote. He accepted many of Thomas Aquina's arguments for God and developed his own rendition of the cosmological argument. That's like saying, atheists and evolutionism has other words like that, cosmological and ontological, theological, all of these little blanket. This meant something. Some guy with some authority who needs to actually be humbled and said, I have no authority because I actually broke. He accepted some of Thomas Aquina's arguments. So we have arguments into why do we even breathe my dog's air? For God developed his own rendition of the cosmological argument. We'll touch on the cosmological argument, but we're going to have to touch on science as to the ontological argument first and say these are kind of the same. They're both a bunch of words. Moreover, Voltaire defended many of God's attributes, such as his necessity, omnipotence, eternality, eternal, eternality, internality, externality. Let's look at those: forever in, forever out, forever up, forever down, as above, so below, simplicity and intelligence. Open your eyes is where intelligence came from, the God and Moses. What are we going to learn from God and Moses? What did Voltaire study during this era that caused us in the year 2020 to have such 600,000 references to things that Voltaire would have kind of understood, kind of known about during that era, because it was an era of you're not going to get any real legitimate history because you were not permitted, because we burned books, we burned the information, we refused the acceptance. So he did not accept. He heard of Thomas Aquinas' arguments. For example, our interpretation of Earth history is false. He accepted, he learned of, which is why gotquestions.org, you're learning of Darwin, you're learning of NASA, you know they exist, we know these people exist, but what would you do if you received some sort of this star cluster out here? We found stuff that's giving indication that something from over here flew through air, and we're measuring that this happened because this rock chunk came from this weird distant planet, and we think there's life on it or something, so yeah, we believe a lot of stuff. This guy believed in natural theology. How did we find that rock moved from that big thing God formed? And why do we have Voltaire not know that God was standing there, that observing it for him? He accepted many of Thomas's Aquinas' arguments because that's all you have is argument, argument, argument. And he developed his own rendition of the cosmological argument. So I have to explain cosmology with respect to the Jesus is in the Quran 25 times by name. There's your science. Moreover, Voltaire defended many of God's attributes, such as his necessity, omnipotence, eternality, simplicity, and intelligence. God is in control of his words. Where did we get them from? We actually have to put them all away for 1,000 years. Don't fuck with the Bible, because we fucked with it wrong and we derived $250 trillion in debt. With the Bible wrong, and we're dead, we're wrong. We are just, okay, close it. This was that period. We now have like this flat point in Earth history where we don't actually know what went on because we're $250 trillion in debt and no one wants to take care of that responsibility. Okay, we kept it wrong, and now we're $250 trillion in debt, only however many years away, because we're nothing but a token of hell, a teacher of hell on accident, because we kept it. Good job. We also kept nothing else aside from illogical reasons to close our eyes to what this actually said. He also sided with Williams Paley's theological design argument. So we've got a lot of neat. We're 250 trillion. Yeah. He also, so what are the differences? What are they? Why do we have these little one-liners from these two men saying they sided together, but over here we're not, and we're not taking our time to figure out why? In this beautiful page, we actually know nothing. We kind of have a name. We know of the word barren in the Bible because it had to do with our record of earth fertility. However, we decided barren was, oh wow, these barren matriarchs are going to produce offspring, and we're going to honor them, and we're going to lose record of their actual origin. We're not going to keep track of this because this is more fun. And intelligence. Yeah, what did we know? We knew that there was conflict, and we knew that the conflict is that both of them were wrong, or there would not have been any context. No argument. He has no competency. So he's working with a medieval god understanding without science. So he has no his cosmological argument is all he has. I have a medieval cosmology, and I need to go over to Arabia to compare my cosmology to their cosmology, but I haven't because I don't even know Arabia existed during the 1600s. Moreover, Voltaire defended many of God's attributes, such as his necessity, omnipotence, eternality, simplicity, and intelligence. Modern attributes applied to an ancient. How do we have what we wanted to call it during that period and evolved into through this there's this cosmology. Well, the bigger picture cosmology is beautiful. It is we gravity works. We just need to repent for every word in the Bible being wrong. So who's Voltaire? Moreover, Voltaire defended many of God's attributes. Paley's teleological design argument says this itself appears to me the most convincing demonstration of the existence of a God, and I cannot conceive in what way it can be answered. So he had no answer. He had a I can't answer anything because of the era. We have it written down and we're cherry picking his. I can't answer anything, and we have absolutely nothing in this void web page, this empty and void web page from the Middle Ages, where we're perfectly documenting what we don't know about this earth history, about name. So what did we do? Calling the Christian faith infamous superstition and taking the typical deist stance. We have rejection of, okay, we don't have an agreement, so we're rejecting this guy because we don't understand his words. Stance of the anti-supernaturalism. Voltaire rejected the miracles recorded in the Bible. No, he didn't. By the way, we don't know what he rejected. We were never there. He's here rejecting. He's saying, I have a cosmological argument you're not thinking about. You guys have a cosmological argument I can't think about. And those are just a bunch of words. While acknowledging Jesus, who does not exist. Jesus is a real man, but is a false Messiah. Jesus never died. Jesus, as a real man, a false Messiah, never once was murdered on the cross. He made firsthand record, written account of whoever was on the cross, whoever he wrote, it was in third person. He put himself up there in that person's place. Barabbas is the real murdered person. Jesus trying to make, look at what I can do by providing a legend that Voltaire will not even keep track of, while acknowledging Jesus as superior to all other religious leaders and accepting his moral teachings. No. 66 books, Voltaire's 1500s moral teachings. No, get that out and away from your infantile cult children. Fascism, communism at its best. We broke it here because we think we can vote because this guy was wrong, and we don't have. Hitler would look better right here. Is it nice me smiling with my goatee or my Hitler would be better for this right now. As we need to talk about him. How did Hitler influence the Bible? And Voltaire, Hitler had more influence on the Bible than Voltaire did, while acknowledging Jesus as superior to other religious leaders and accepting his moral teachings. Voltaire, the other men in this, an argument, a debate. Some people, why do I have the prophet Joseph Smith does not discuss Voltaire's contribution in world history? Why do we have Voltaire's contribution in world history not saying, well, how often did Jimmy Swaggart read Voltaire's work as an example to become such a medieval expositor with his his accidental I subtracted God from the Bible of all places, keeping Voltaire rejected all miracles recorded in the Bible, of course, because they couldn't be figured out scientifically. So in Voltaire's, I'm going to influence and appear in the year 2020 as record keeping that we just have to kind of smooth over and take some fine grit sandpaper. That's what we're doing here. Looking at this one second time, the fine grit sandpaper of why are you $250 trillion in debt? Fucking with the answer 1694, not saying in the year 1611 and 1666. These men don't know what they're talking about, to the point where they weren't scientists, they were religious medieval magic poofers who contributed to religious medieval magic poofing in different layers, different methodologies, different aspects, and different purposes, while acknowledging Jesus is superior to all other religious leaders and accepting his moral teachings. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. What do you think the three wise men were doing? Reading the Rig Veda. What do you think the three wise men were doing? You never thought about it. So an infamous superstition, it is an infamous superstition. We are convincing ourselves to believe things that did not happen in world history. So we did not keep track of earth fertility, and we as a religious institution did not keep track of the first record of writing, 5500 BC. Lost in this mix of calling the Christians faith the infamous superstition. We believe 6,000 years ago, record into the year 2020, the earth is only 6,000 years old. Because of men like Voltaire, we could not look up well, when did we evolve? It's not evolved writing. When did Adam and Eve get expelled from the Garden of Eden and teach the exact same that they walked out into all of the Neolithics, writing and start making maps? That's what happened. 5,500 years ago, we have maps, and because at 5,500 years ago, we have an infamous superstition that 6,000 years ago, a medieval poofing, we have a mess. And taking the typical deist stance. So is God real? We have atheists. Are Christians real to atheists? Are atheists real to Christians? And the answer is no, they don't associate. They can't figure out that they're both wrong. And taking the typical deist stance of anti-supernaturalism, Voltaire rejected all miracles recorded in the Bible. The record keeping of the miracles, did Jesus walk on water, or is in the year 2020 walking on water a miracle rejected in the Bible by Voltaire, a miracle that did not happen because it doesn't work? It's just a story. It does not work for Jesus to be walking on water. However, it does not work to have Moses and God face to face, and God and Moses having water come from a rock either. What is the infamous superstition? We can't believe one while we can believe the other, while acknowledging Jesus as superior to other religious leaders and accepting his moral teachings. Take Jesus off the cross. I'm Shiva. Let's go to Google Translate this morning. Work with Hebrew. This Google Translate with your keyboard translate on Hebrew virtually. Your follow along if you're doing this. Google Translate your Hebrew keyboard open on your desktop or your computer, your laptop. You have your English keyboard. Type the letter S. It gives you a D. SH, enough. SHI, law. SHIV, Dina. I'll explain that one later. You need my dog's name to understand this one. SHIVA, Deans. D, I'm the dean of the law. I'm giving you a D for Voltaire giving a little bit of information, but wrong information. It's a fragmentary layer of information we're unable to look at. Well, this told us we didn't know what we were talking about over here. Also, so we're kind of fucked. So we have law, Dina's law. Let's see what Dina said. Dinah. Fair. Garden, J. Jesus's garden. This is the type of shit I'm working with. It's a gift. This is working with this for gotquestions.org and saying, okay, right here, they're right, but they left out this little up, and we got a big flat blap. And this big fat blap is I have to say right here, oh wow, we got to preserve this for 1,000 years for your future generations as it sits, because in 1,000 years, Voltaire, he's not going to be anything but who was he did, and then of course it's like, well, he rejected everything, so he's not for real. He's not a scientist. He's not for real. Voltaire is not for real to NASA scientists, because NASA scientists don't understand that Voltaire contributed just as much to them getting to Mars as did Jesus not being real, Jesus being a real man, but not being murdered. And how did NASA scientists not look at Mr. Swagger's being a beautiful singer, but just being a medieval participation performance in the year 2020, while acknowledging Jesus is superior to all other religious leaders? What makes Jesus so much more superior to Gandhi? What does Jesus make him so much superior to all of those guys? When we say in the year 5500 BC, Gandhi became real to NASA, but in the year 4004 BC, Jesus became fiction to NASA. So Gandhi's real, Jesus is not, because we don't know his words. We don't know Gandhi's words. We don't know what Voltaire got other than he's a V. Let's take a look at the word Yeshua. Yeshua. We know the name. Yeshua. Let's switch around. Yeshua. Yeshua. Jesus. What do these tell us? There is E. Doesn't Jesus? It tells us a duplication in Jesus, a second layer. J, Jesus. So we're getting the same second layer. We have 3 times in the name. We get there is 3 times in the name Jesus. There is. Jesus continues to repeat because it's Jesus. You can't fuck with his name too much. To be honest. Yeah. Salvation. In the name of Jesus, there is a V. In the name of Jesus, there is salvation. In the name of, here, right on Google Translate. How do we use the 4 letters? So how do we use the 4 letters? There's more authority in Google Translate than our vapor memory of Voltaire. It's a vapor memory that we're looking down. Oh, we don't remember because we forgot right over here we were wrong. Voltaire summed up his view of the Bible in this way. The Bible. So in that period of time, that is what fools have written on this website. That is what fools have written. These rather than saying, oh, we better run scared because Voltaire called us fools, we kept the 6,000-year-old legend that Voltaire said. That is what fools have written, and that's what you're doing. What imbeciles commend. We're happy to teach this and convince you that what rogues teach children and made to learn by heart. So you've kept yes. What fools? Oops. We are not looking at science. We're dense at Baptists. We're dumb. We are looking at the words wrong. medieval legend, believing that we were living in the twilight of Christianity. So he believed that at this period of time, during that period when they did not have the look at compare the church buildings, structures. What do we have from that period of time? We've got nothing aside from a few that made it through the medieval period into the few that now we got to talk about the destruction of the Columbia River dams, for the example, because Voltaire existed and didn't know that the people Voltaire was walking out into had more legitimate record of Earth history than Voltaire's contributions, such as Kennewick Man, 9,200-year-old fossil remain. So we kept a name. We debated him because he has a cosmogony. He was a cosmogonist or something, where some have tried to classify this story as an urban legend. It is an urban legend. It is an urban legend. We refused as Baptists to open our eyes into the 6,000-year teaching, so we have an urban legend in the year 2020. Others have researched the case and found it to be true. All others are the exact same. We know of the name. What is this stuff? Who are these people? You're $22 trillion in debt. Ignatius of Antioch, one of the guys. Assisi, Gregory the Great. I don't know Gregory the Great well. What is Thomasism? Also, so Antioch, Assisi, and Voltaire, these guys. Who is Gregory? Take those three is what I would ask you to do here. Who was the Gregory the Great? Answer that question by answering the question what we don't actually know about those kids. What do we not know about? So what is the meaning of Corpus Christi? One of our words. I'm not even going to fuck with it. How did Cain die? Okay, we remembered Cain. He's not in our textbooks as, Cain died. Where's Seth? It's in prophecy that we all came from Seth. Why? Because Australian Aboriginal didn't. They're not related to Seth. Did not. I personally am German. I personally am American mutt, because American mutts said, well, what did happen with this legend of Cain? We have NASA scientists saying, well, there's this legend of Cain, so that we have a land bridge of some of these 20,000-year-old Neolithic explorers building a boat to getting us with Columbus to getting us over here. It's kind of where we're at. Who's Jesus? Oh, I built a boat with Columbus. Well, yeah. Built a boat. We're still in that. Okay, Mr. R. Rush is taking us into the Garden of Eden to say, this is what it said. God said, let us make man in our image. Where are our men? Where are our men? Well, that's our Sparky's Award. Where are our men? Our little Baptist Sparky's Award. Where are our men? Our little Baptist Sparky's Award. Baptist, 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 they're all around you. I've come to just understand that Messiah ben David is, I'm sorry, Baptists were broken. And Messiah ben David, we already knew. Us Baptists have been expecting this correction since my father's name is David. I'm just giving my correction over to my granddaughter, of all things. Remember, I was 19 when I was also married. I was also married, 19, and when I first began this exercise, I'm 42 years, so I've been working on this particular exercise for 22 years. What did we do wrong? We have misinterpreted every word of the Bible by teaching only the extra biblical legends and not collating the legends as how did we create our legends, brothers and sisters. We created more of a legend of ourselves as to why we breathed past tense, my dog's heir, according with the Quran. I have more authority in my dog and the naming convention I gave him as a little mystical medieval marking dog that I picked up. My Yorkshire Terrier, being able to use him to say, okay, this is how you're going to learn that you're not an ape that grew up to invent writing in the year 3200 BC. So I'm going to give you a little stuffed comparison of a Yorkshire Terrier to say Voltaire. My dog has more authority than Voltaire's contribution, to be honest. My dog has more authority than Voltaire's contribution, because Voltaire was not able to look to the future and say, well, how am I going to be shown that I was incorrect? Voltaire did not know. My dog kind of knew. He's like down on the ground. Look, well, hey, Dad, you're going to prove that you're not an ape by writing something, is kind of what he was saying. By analyzing everything's written, by saying no more buying or selling of books, because right here, what is the meaning of Corpus Christi? I don't want to fuck with that one, to be honest, because I'm going to just say, that's you guys. That's what we are. What happened to Cain? Well, we don't know. What does test yourself mean in 2 Timothy 3:5? Let's ask ourselves that. I was on Weird California. 2 Timothy David rape Bathsheba? David did whatever the fuck he wants, by the way, kids. Did he rape anyone? No. Men like David would have had women offering themselves to him. It would have been a privilege and an honor to find a way into David's David had court people who would have been, okay, wow, if a court member saw the most beautiful woman like Bathsheba, the court members said, hey, king, my leader, I got you a good lay. He would have been like that. What does it mean to test yourselves? Understand that. Let's see. 2 Timothy, David was king. 2 Corinthians 13:5. 2 Corinthians, the second letter to the church of Corinth. We have 13 unluckies Paul wrote, and some of them we have record keeping. The dates were written down after Paul was martyred, so we know that one's wrong. And so what did we do to ourselves? 2 Corinthians, we're 13. Here's an unlucky 13 of 13 and taking us into a 4. Okay, we don't think mathematically about these things because of the numerical coding. Oh, we have Paul's scripture. Don't fuck with it. It's holy. It's sacred. It made it through the dark age. It's what we used to form our church. Voltaire got noticed. This is the third time I am coming out. So in the second letter to the church of Corinth, this is the third time I'm coming to you, kids. All of a sudden, at 13, flippant memory of Voltaire knew something, flippant memory of the 14th letter to the Church of Corinth, fragmented foofs of, 6,000 years. Yeah, within this 6,000 years, the V of Voltaire appeared about the same time after the King James Bible went worthless to us. It being the medieval marking of Maxwell, my medieval marking dog. My dog has more authority than the King James Bible. I told you as before. I foretell you as if I were present. So we didn't look at the 3 times. This is the third time I'm coming to you. As if I were present. When was Paul martyred? Was Paul even martyred? Good question. Good question. Is it a legend he was martyred? Question, most likely. Most likely not able to be determined because he's dead and we did not keep record of it. And of course, we erase the purpose of the martyrships were the erasures of people that could continue with the teaching. And in reality, men like my 1666 Sabbatai Savai, he was in 1666, I'm going to be the Messiah. And then the Sultan said, no, you're not. And said, you shall convert. So in the year 1666, he did convert and he kept his head. Voltaire, did this happen to him? We don't know. The second time I being absent, now I write to them which therefore heretofore have sinned. Voltaire sinned according to the Apostle Paul, and to all other that I come again. I will not spare. So here we have 2 of 3. He came again. He's in a repetitive. I have 2 witnesses, only 2 little letters that made it through the medieval dark age, and some of them you think were written down after I was dead. So I will come again. He knew he was coming back. That I come again. I will not spare. We have a problem over here, brothers and sisters. I will not spare. He left record in the, you guys are fucked in your church formation, and I need to flatten you. Since you seek a proof of Christ speaking in me, which to you word is not weak, but is mighty in you. I told you so. I told you so. And then Paul being a rabbi, and you guys not, you guys being medieval magic poofers, you didn't know that. It is mighty in you, so you're $250 trillion in debt, teaching a legend. I'm sorry. For though he was crucified through weakness, you're $250 trillion in debt, teaching a medieval legend. Yet he liveth by the power of God. How did we get $250 trillion in debt, teaching a medieval legend? For we are also weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of God towards you. What did it mean that God and Moses spoke face to face as friends? That is the power. Jesus told us not to subtract. Though that that sentence, that phrase, that understanding, we're dead here, we're in hell because we lost that. Who's Voltaire if he didn't know that God and Moses spoke face to face? Who is he? But I trust that you know that you are not reprobate. So what's a reprobate? Let's see what Paul was calling his immature church. What was Paul calling his immature church? What was the Apostle Paul calling his immature church? Reprobates. And it does not even translate to Hebrew, an unprincipled person. So a reprobate, a word that doesn't even translate into Hebrew, maintain in the modern 2020. We think the earth is 6,000 years old, and we teach a medieval legend, often used humorously or affectionately. Often. So yeah, we're I'm sorry, we're really messed up right here, and we did really make a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's start my morning pop because I'm out here, and let's go see if my coffee got coffee. Wake and work. Wake and work. Wake and work. Wake up and smoke marijuana. We're in a medieval hangover. Voltaire is an instance of being in a medieval blackout. Voltaire was during the medieval period. Blackout. When did that kaplap? Voltaire was like, oh, there's something wrong over here. And I'm kaplapping it. I don't have any technical terms for being a mystic. I'm sorry. I have technical terms for I'm kaplapping it. It's like, how could I kaplap it? Oh, we took God and Moses. We kaplapped on our face. We broke our nose. We broke our little infant noses, and we got a bloody nose. Cleaning up Eve's tampon. Yes, don't fuck with me. I'm cleaning up Eve's tampon, please, brothers and sisters. Oops, I am knocking over something. I'm cleaning up Eve's tampon for your children. The Apostle Paul said, oh no, now I pray to God that you do no evil. So what happened? Why do we have I haven't even made it to 13. Oh, I did make it to 13.5. Examine yourselves. So in 13.6, not examining ourselves, are we correct? Examine yourselves. 6,000 years does 6,000 years being scientifically able to be proven that whether ye be faith, prove your own selves. Voltaire, 1600s, 1500s, prove your own selves. He didn't know about cosmogony. You know ye are not your own selves, because Voltaire was sprinkling some magic fairy dust on your brains. You're in the middle dark age. How that Jesus Christ is in you, except you be reprobates. What is reprobate? I have not found that one yet. A word that does not translate into Hebrew, so it's not a real word, by the way. It's an unprincipled person. But here's the honor, often used humorously or affectionately. Okay, so humorous and affectionate. Reprobation in Christian theology, made up. We have a terminology of how we got everything wrong. Is the doctrine, again, the doctrine of we got everything wrong of the Bible, found in many passages that are not linked together. So you have a doctrine that you can erase world history by saying a cherry-picked word from a numerical coded book that's in existence, that you're overinflating into a false legend, such as Romans 1:20 through 28. So we have a partial of a partial of a partial of a partial of a partial. Go put Voltaire to the left of it and say scripture. No, it's not scripture, because here in Romans, the church in Rome would have had some little, like, I know of one of these weird little Jewish mystics walking around wailing, going, oh, no, kids, no, you guys are fucked. You guys, no, we're broken. Well, I've got men at the Wailing Wall doing this because you didn't understand world history that well. And I need to ask you to stop, because they're broken. Men at the Wailing Wall are doing this, crying, weeping, because this website refuses to say, oh, I was just simply wrong. Men are whining and wailing at the Wailing Wall because of this, myself included, spiritually, emotionally, and just broken. I'm at the Wailing Wall. Oh, I am at the Wailing Wall. I am at here at gotquestions.ministries, reading through it, having memory of what Auschwitz and Birkenau 2 smelled like, because reading gotquestions.org's misinterpretation, in a complete misinterpretation, is, okay, now I have to, like, on my personal website, outline it. Okay, in 1992, I was in Auschwitz and Birkenau, and this is where I saw where I saw the record of the 4.4 million Jews supposedly murdered, and we don't even know if that's possible. We don't even know if that's possible. And we know things happen, but we don't know. We don't have earth record. It wasn't a trauma. It was a success, and we're going to beat these other guys down because we're more powerful. And so now, today in the year 2020, we keep a legend that's more powerful than our acceptance that, wow, 2 world wars, wow, a civil war, wow, what ping-ponged around there? God, sprinkling magic fairy dust on our brains, just said, teachers of hell, and said, we're done. Let me go start my next cup of coffee, and I don't know where I'm at in this. Did I make it through that page? I think I made it through Voltaire. And what's new? Did he impact Christian history? Yeah, it's the impact right here, brothers. Absolutely. Jimmy Swaggart and Voltaire's impact on Christian history, from my perspective of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They are equal contributing members into, we have their names. Fortunately, we have a legend. Fortunately, in the year 2020, if we did not have this legend, we would not have a Christian history. We would only have the $22 trillion in debt saying we don't believe anything happened. Imagine the world without end, controlled by the NASA scientists who know it's a world without end, but they're looking at 500 years ago we got smart and now we're $250 trillion in debt. 500 years ago we got wise and created atheism because black magic and stuff that's the real shit, that Jesus walked on water and sprinkled some magic fairy dust on your brains. It's did Moses beat water and beat a rock and have water come out? Well, God was right there. If we can look at this website and say, right here, the God and Moses face to face is the final judgment of what we did wrong. 100% of misinterpreting the Bible has relationship to the erasure of that sentence. It's very disappointing. 100% of every mistake, we miscalculated worth history by not accepting. We erased God and Moses from our legends by keeping the legend that we had more authority and Moses had no authority, and we obtained the nuclear bomb for helping Israel not get murdered after 6 years after 6 years of Hitler helping us out for disobedience to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Disobedience. Hitler was, thank you, God. God was whispering in Hitler's ear, I'll help these guys over here. I'll take care of you later. God used Hitler. God used Hitler. So what is Tibetan and Buddhism? God used Hitler in order to explain. This website is what is Tibetan and Buddhism. The fact that you have never sat there with the Tibetan monk or a Buddhist monk and sat there and spent 3 years learning it. Rather, you have Mr. Swagger, be just like me. I think I'm medievally magically poofed. I'm creating a medieval empire. I'm not doing anything for my children. We're going to send them out into the Tibetan and Buddhist empires and not teach them anything about these deities because we don't believe in them, and not understand that Krishna had control of all of them. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare is where we're at. That's Jesus. Okay, we want Jesus to come back in 1,000 years. Do we even know it's possible for him to do that? Well, did Moses water from a rock, or did Moses face to face with God? Because of the face to face with God, God made water come from a rock. Let me go start another cup of coffee, please. Children, that's what happened. Because of face to face with God, God made Moses come from, or water came from a rock, and we have legend, and we have Mr. Swaggart singing. Okay, a legend. Why do you do that? Why can't you stop? Why can't you just say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong? It's because we're a legend. We're not real to these other guys. They're not real to us because we're warping our brains around a 6,000-year legend. Warped, broken. Oops. That's why we're $22 trillion in debt. The world's most simple argument that now I'm fucked. The world's most simple argument. Adam and Eve, 500 years later, first record writing. Boom. What happened after that? You got the no more buying or selling of books because everything happened in that. We kept the legend. No more buying or selling of books. Don't even publish anymore. You kept the legend of where you even began at. You kept the legend. We are scientific legends. We are scientific. I am a scientific legend. Gravity working for me is a scientific legend. Gravity working for you is a scientific legend. A legitimate scientific legend. It's like, oh, wow, I've personally flown airplanes, and I remember that. Gravity works. at when I was about 20 hours into piloting a Cessna 150, we started doing stalls, and I almost spun a Cessna 150. That's a legitimate whoa when you do that, because that is you are upside down, and to get a Cessna 150 to spin and not hit the ground, you got to spin it 3 times. So you have to be high enough in altitude to spin it 3 times in order to level back out, or else you will level up back out straight down. If you spin your Cessna 150, you got to go 3 times. You can't do it at 2. If you're too close to the ground, whoa, you're fucked, because 3, clap, works. That's gravity. That's what Voltaire did to you children. That's who Voltaire is. He's like your bad pilot. Voltaire is your bad. Oh, how did we get the strusses to connect it, the air the wings? Why do I have 787 or 737 dash whatever's hitting the ground in alternative areas, and the FAA not looking at these? Why do I have that? I am a professional engineer who put the quality management system for all of airplanes, all commercial airplanes, for 200,000 different employees following me, in order to just say this part on this airplane will not break, because we tested it this way, and because it has broken, or something happened with the installation and the construction, and we have all of these foreign object debris. We have the foreign object debris we have Mr. Jimmy Swaggart knows about airplanes, but does not know that the earth is 6,000 years old. Does not know, because he's seeing Adam and Eve as a medieval daisy. They were bound to a tree or something. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. They ate from it. What was it? That was the Levitical instructions to thou shalt not eat the grape. That's why Jesus made reference to the grape. The grape was the forbidden fruit. And the fact that we don't know what it was a legend. We have to go back into the words of Jesus to figure out the grape was the forbidden fruit. It wouldn't be the forbidden fruit. What are some of the others? Blueberry, I think, is one that it could be, but it's not. It's the nutritional values of, wow, we know that now. Excuse me while I make some more coffee. Voltaire, thank you for picking up on him. Yeah, absolutely. He is as equally wrong as Mr. Swaggart. They both need to retire at the same time in saying God and Moses spoke face to face. Voltaire didn't know how to read that line. Why would Jimmy Swaggart not know how to read that line of a medieval manuscript? Voltaire, who was alive during the medieval times, did not know that line. Voltaire did not know God and Moses spoke face to face. Voltaire did not understand. In the year 2020, this is the only correction I can make on all of the Bible for 7.7 billion of you, and saying, I'm sorry, right here, we erased. Voltaire did not see that one coming, because he had his medieval building and the false authority of the medieval government that came from the church, that came out of the church into your local magistrates, into your local, 1500s, we got across the pond on these sailboats. Or did we? We didn't. We don't know if we came around on these land bridges, because we already had people there, so we didn't. Excuse me. So what we have with Voltaire is the legitimate, again, we have a false authority point of reference to which we, by having the name a false authority point of reference, the two together side by side, we have two false authorities into a single, we could use a single authority to turn it off together, say false authority, this is where the data came from, this is what happened from this point in time. Voltaire didn't know gravity. Whew, blow on the words of the Bible. Say, do they say what they said? Blow on the words of the Bible. And they all go away above the sand. Into gotquestions.org, Jimmy Swagger, on page whatever, you erase this word. Oops. Having erased that word, you subtracted the entire meaning of the Bible. Having erased this individual phrase, you subtracted the entire meaning of the Bible. We broke the world clock, having subtracted the entire meaning of the Bible with the individual removal of that one point. So coffee's coming. I don't think he's in it. I might have Voltaire upstairs where I've got some of my Catholic shit. What did you need, Lord? Samuel asked Eli. My son, I did not call for you, Eli replied. How do we have such precision of these, my son? So we're really what happened? We're putting ourselves into this legend that something happened. Go back and lie down. So what are we being told to do? Samuel did not realize that God was speaking to him. We have that. So, and $22 trillion in debt. We did not realize God was speaking to Moses, but we accept he was talking to, what was happening. He was I'm from Magic Mount, from Medieval Sermon, from medieval, everything shall be made new again. Samuel did not realize that God was speaking to him. The Lord has never spoken to Samuel before. In our legends, absolutely, God called out to Samuel the third time, and he got up again and went to Eli. Look at the precision. Did God call? What really happened? What really happened? When was this written down? By hurting, have no authority, built a weird little mystical healing pool. No authority. This time Eli realized that it must be the Lord speaking. It must be in our legend, but we don't recognize God and Moses face to face. So that other bad legend, beside this legend, which one has authority? We have a little, good catch on Earth history with Voltaire. Thank you. Let's go back. So Corpus Christi. This is your guys's, the body of Christ, okay? In Latin. We can't teach from Latin. It's no good for us. It's a dead language. So we have a dead language interpretation of a dead book, also called the solemnity of the most holy body and blood of Christ. So why do you not have the same adoration as the weeping, crying nuns and crying Marys at the Catholic, where they have 75 books? You say they're not inspired. They have these phenomenons going on. Is a religious festival celebrated by many Roman Catholics on the first Thursday after Trinity Sunday. So we're into Roman Catholics, the 75 books. Why are we teaching their tradition in a 66 book tradition and telling that their books are not inspired? On this website, we are teaching a tradition saying that their tradition supporting a reason for breathing my dog's air is not inspired. So they have no reason to breathe my dog's air in this inspiration of we kept the name and we kept it. They have no value. They're a vapor. We're teachers of hell. We're just Baptists. We are the densities. I love us. We kept the medieval King James Bible. Medieval King James Bible. Medieval King James Bible. We did not compare it to the medieval King James Bible, which Justice Smith grabbed. Creating the world's messiest bloody tampon to clean up for Eve of the world's disharmonic union for 7.7 billion of us. Young Earth creationism forgot that's not our origin. Couldn't prove it, so we proved otherwise. And because they couldn't prove it, they proved otherwise. And now we're all typing great apes on Facebook 500 years after Voltaire. And we are now officially typing great apes because some of you believe and some of you don't believe. Typing great apes. Nobody knows. Nobody quite understands. You, Mr. Swagger, you, according to human evolution, are nothing but a typing great ape. You're an ape who got out of the zoo. My job is to get you, Mr. Swagger, to perform to the great apes. Yes, I like that. Go to the zoo and perform to the great apes and make fucking amends for thinking they grew up to become you. It's kind of what I'm bouncing around on Facebook saying, what do I do? What do I do? We took God and Moses. We're just great apes. I'm not a great ape. I'm not a great ape. I put my great ape in the zoo. I'm not a great ape. I put my great ape in the zoo, Mr. Swagger. I'm not a great ape. You're a great ape. You're a funny-looking performer. Great ape, go put on a Neolithic headdress. Yeah, great apes. No. Australian Aboriginal War royalty. Royalty. We are kings. We are kings. That you know about us in the year 2020. And we did not get completely eradicated by you white jerks who aren't even us, who aren't Israel. And that wow, America got over here $22 trillion later and participated in our wars up there because these guys couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. Voltaire, thanks. From my point of view, kids, we here on this resource of this single resource in God's mind is like our collective's expositors. Thank you. We exposited the Bible to provide us with how to interpret the Bible without God and Moses. We want Moses to return. We want that in our prophecy, and we want a new world order. We want world peace, or do we? I don't think we do. I actually do not think we do, because the Bible itself, in the 27-book format, in our religious teachings, tells us that the Bible doesn't require it. If the Bible required it, repentance and all of that, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Swagger would be looking in his mirror a lot different, saying, oh, blessed are the peacemakers. What am I doing for peace? I'm come feel good about my songs to Jesus. I'm praising him because he's medieval. Get him off the cross. 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 He's a medieval bastardization of Why You Breathe My Dog's Air. My dog has more authority than Jesus. My dog held more authority than Jesus. And he's really my biggest named on because I came up with the name when I was 15 years old on my missions trip distributing the Bible in Russia, and Maxwell spent 14 years and 7 months with me, and he selected his euthanization date. I had him scheduled for Friday the 9th, 3-9, and I got a 3-7 because he chose, no, Dad, I have to go today, and it broke my heart, so I had an emergency euthanization on 3-7, and on 3-9, I'm crying about the loss of my little dog, my best friend. It took me about a week to recover from that. Ouch, that was family. Well, it took me a week to wake up and not look for my little dog that I had euthanized just a couple days before. It's like, where's my dog? Crying. Where's my dog? Crying. Where's my dog? Is how it is. My mourning for my dog is, okay, I'm mourning for James Usher being kept in the year 2020 through the loss of my dog. For us, it hurt. But will it help us? And the answer is yes. It will help us in order to know that we are just wrong. The 500 years is, we have this wonderful, beautiful, we erase something on accident. And by erasing something on accident, now over the next year, what I'm going to do here, expositing for you, I'm going to make www.seventh angel scroll as a single entry point for the single newspaper article. All I can do with 27 books saying, well, we kept them, thank you, is say, we kept them, thank you, turn them off. This is how, by handwriting the Bible, which is teaching your children what the words say. The beautiful, teaching your children what the words say. Doctrine. What does that word mean? A belief or set of beliefs held and taught by a church, a political party, or other group. So you have a triune relationship of a codification of beliefs. So here, to Baptist doctrines, Pentecostal doctrines, to Mormon doctrines, bodies of teachings, of instructions that are the same instructions, one word off over in Mormons, one word off over in Baptists, one word off. We're done. Taught principles or positions, so you have two places for being one word off. Oh, we're both wrong. We got a building. Good job. As the essence of teachings in a given branch or knowledge or in a belief system, such as gravity works. Such as gravity works. God, gravity. That's all you need, kids, or we would not be permitted to have atheists. We are so delusional as a Baptist congregation that we think we got to go and save the lost. We're the lost children. We Baptists are the dense lost children. We Baptists were the broken kids. We Baptists were, we got expelled. And we Baptists are we fucked everything up. We Baptists are the lowest of the low, the dense of the dense. And in many ways, I like to say the dumbest of the dumbest, because we are just eyes wide shut. I love that movie. Eyes wide shut, walking around, eyes wide shut, going into, what does this building even have here? Well, there's a pastor. I'm going to just sit here and accept a medieval sermon. Eyes wide shut. I'm going to stand up when the congressional attribute of we're $22 trillion in debt and we don't bow down, and I've got somebody crying back here and a baby wailing who needs to be diaper changed, and because it just pooped. We don't even teach our children how to poop properly. Baptist children don't even know how to poop properly. And we're so broken. We don't even know how to poop properly, children. Children, we do not actually know how to poop properly until we're about 20. Honest, we didn't learn how to poop properly. We actually did not learn how to poop properly. I'll end on that one as I kind of, okay, this is just, we don't learn how to poop properly. In the Native American tradition. R-O-Z, Kennewick Man, 9,200-year-old fossil remain. When did Kennewick Man learn how to poop? Well, probably when he was born and he started doing it, drinking his mother's breast milk, natural, no whatevers. No swaddling clothes, yeah, because he was an infant. But during that era and during that time, when the Jews carried their everything they had in the desert, the mothers would have been looking just okay, always carrying their children. It's starting, and the as a child, like you can observe kind of the Jimmy, when you need to go poop. How do you feel that when you were 2 years old? What did you do? You let it free. No, 20,000 years ago, Jimmy, what you would have been doing is your mother would have been sitting there, always keeping you in her hands. Always. Are you whining for food? Okay, suckle. Are you whining for pooping? It's like I'm watching you squint. Okay, I'm seeing a intestinal movement because I know what that looks like. I'm your mother, and seeing that intestinal movement because I know what you look like. I'm watching, and I'm watching you as your mother. She would have been 20,000 years ago. Native Americans, as an example, learned to poop when they came out, and their moms kind of potty trained them. It's like, okay, I have to carry you over here and drop you, let you poop over. I will set you. I will make sure you don't have this runny, gooey crap all over your leg and 20, quick wipes and a bath. Or Baptists do not even understand how to raise their children to poop properly. Baptists do not understand how to properly train their children to poop. We've broken every word of the Bible. Baptists do not understand how to properly have their children poop. So let's go to www.seventhangelscroll, where Baptists learn how to have their children properly poop through the American traditions. Thank you.